box for you, Bridget, I think, right?
Yeah, that's more medication, yeah.
Yeah, we get lots of deliveries.
My name's Bridget McGarey. I'm 26 years old, and I was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis in vitro.
I'm Denver McGarey, the father of Bridget and Oliver McGarey. Both have cystic fibrosis, and CF was always in the room with us. You always heard something you didn't want to hear, and you always had people measuring life and timelining and things that were soul-crushing. Everything that we do without thinking about is everything that's hard about CF. Everything that I do to take a simple breath is something that's complex in CF. It's toughest on the things you need the most.
When I was younger with cystic fibrosis, I was very blessed to be a healthy child.
Bridget was plagued with adorability. You know, to look at Bridget, you would not know that she had cystic fibrosis, let alone anything else.
I was probably 7 or 8 when I really realized kind of what it was. I do remember doing kind of a daunting Google search and being pretty nervous when I first looked at it. But I also remember at the same time reading it and thinking, oh gosh, you know, I feel so normal. No way that's gonna happen to me or be me. And in general, as a child, I just really don't remember feeling like my life was gonna be different than anyone else's.
We were, you know, all hunched at the goal line, ready for trouble, and Bridget really avoided it for almost the first decade. And then everything changed.
I had my first hospitalization when I was 14. And then junior year of high school, when I turned 17, my hospitalizations went from 2 a year to 3 or 4 a year. And when you're in high school, you know, that's hard. And it's hard on a lot of levels. It's hard because you don't want to miss school, you don't want to fall behind. But when you're a teenager, you know, what you're really focused on is your friends. So I missed a lot of activities with them. That was the first time when I really felt different. It's the first time I really felt like cystic fibrosis had taken a bit of a toll on me. And during that time, you know, I was a little bit rebellious in my nature in terms of my CF care. You know, I didn't want to do my medicine. I didn't want to do my treatments. I didn't want to have to go to the hospital until I really had to. And I had one hospitalization towards the end of my senior year, and I lost 20% of my lung function like that. And I just couldn't get it back. And I remember it was really the first time that I was scared. I remember sitting in the hospital and I just couldn't get better. And the doctor came in and she kind of looked me in the eye and she said, Bridget, you know, you've hit a tough patch, but you're not dying. And I remember those words really resonating with me, and something clicked in my mind, and I went from, oh gosh, you know, I have cystic fibrosis, this is so hard, to, oh gosh, I have cystic fibrosis, what am I gonna do about it? And that was, you know, kind of a come to Jesus moment in a way. And in turn, you know, taking care of myself physically really changed how I felt about the disease too. Because by fighting it, I just felt like I had a chance. And it was the first time I really felt like I had years to do something, and I was gonna do whatever I could to have those years. But the problem I was having is I was having a really hard time telling other people about it. I didn't want them to know I was different. I didn't want them to Google it. I didn't want them to see me as having any kind of expiration date. But I just knew I needed to take my health first. And by taking my health first, the right people would follow along with me in that journey. I can't sit here and tell you that I haven't been rejected by friends or guys or whatever it may be, but at the end of the day, I just realized that all these people that can't handle it, they're not bad people by any means. They're just not my people. And I think the second I realized that, that's when everything changed for me in taking care of my CF. I was just kind of scrolling through my news feed on Facebook, and this icon popped up for the Boomer Esiason Run in New York City. And the Boomer Esiason Foundation is a huge cystic fibrosis foundation for fundraising. And I remember just going for it. I remember signing up and I said, I'm gonna do this. And I realized at that time that it was really my chance to tell other people that I had cystic fibrosis. And I decided I was gonna take some pictures to go along with my fundraising page. And gosh, maybe 2 days before I was gonna take them, of course, I started IV antibiotics. And I was gonna cancel, but I realized that if I'm gonna show the world I have cystic fibrosis, it was time to show them how I really had cystic fibrosis. So we went down to Pike Place Market, and I had my PICC line in my arm, and we took a lot of shots of me down there with my arm raised, kind of showing anyone that happened to walk by that there was something that made me different. And I just remember so many people looking at me with compassion and like real compassion. And it wasn't something I'd ever really looked for before, but in that moment I really needed it. And when I had posted those pictures of me with the PICC line, a lot of people had shared it to kind of help me with my fundraising. And I started getting like friend request after friend request from people with cystic fibrosis. And they all wrote me too. You know, I got messages from 14-year-olds that said, oh my gosh, I'm so jealous that you're able to, you know, step out with your PICC line. That makes me so nervous.
Bridget opened up, and it was remarkable. I knew those people were out there. I knew that she had that support, but it was so amazing.
I think during that time, I just realized that I could make a difference, something so far beyond what I internally had to go through. I could help others go through it too. Of course, I had to do a round of IV antibiotics right before I was supposed to run in New York City. So I had to bring my PICC line, and I was a little bit nervous, but excited.
Bridget hit the start line, and we all had a plan in Central Park in New York to be at the finish line, and all hell broke loose.
Gosh, I was probably 1 mile in, and the rain just starts pouring down. And I mean, pouring down to the point where people were evacuating and running around and freaking out.
The police in New York, which are considerably large men, made us leave.
Of course, I have my PICC line, and I'm kind of freaking out because it has to be wrapped because it can't get wet. And I remember finding someone wearing this garbage bag poncho, and they tore me off a piece of it, and we wrapped it there, and I finished the race, and when I got to the end, there was absolutely no one there.
Getting to the finish line was a real lesson, I think, for her. And I think Bridget found out pretty quickly that she was running the race, and it was all about beating this and being part of a big community. We all felt it. We were in the presence of hope, and it was a pretty darn incredible thing.
It was a really important thing for me to do to kind of launch my desire to continue to try and help other people. Something we talk about in the cystic fibrosis community is that cystic fibrosis never sleeps. It's daunting to never have a break, but the most important thing for me in terms of beating cystic fibrosis is mentality. The good days are so good, and the bad days really get me back to the good ones. Kind of one way I think about that is, you know, in the movies when everyone is all dressed up and they get out of the taxi cab and they go in the lobby and they go up the elevator, and at the top of the elevator is this lavish party. When you think about cystic fibrosis, I think you enter the lobby and that's your bad day. And you meet with the doctor and you make a plan and you get on the elevator. And you know, maybe your elevator is IV antibiotics. Maybe it's a sinus surgery. Maybe it's lung transplant evaluation. You know, whatever it is, you know, we all make that choice to get on the elevator. And you know, once you're in the elevator, maybe you go up 4 floors and you halt. But then all of a sudden, you go all the way up to the top and the doors open and you're back to the party. And you know, when I talk about the party, I'm not talking about anything lavish by any means. Maybe it's a yoga class. Maybe it's a really good first date. Maybe it's getting lunch with my little brother Alex. Maybe it's even as simple as driving down the freeway with the sunset and my favorite song on the radio. I just know that there's never ever gonna be a day when I enter the lobby and I don't try like hell to get in the elevator.
CF is about living, it's not about dying. But more importantly, CF is about people, not a disease. When I think of our family, there's nothing that I will do in my lifetime that's more important than CF. It's defined my time on this earth and will till I am gone. But it comes down to the big thing again. You're in the presence of hope. And the CF Foundation is out there every day canoeing the rapids and raising millions and millions of dollars. And it's humbling. There's a machine out there and a fleet of doctors and science that is so remarkable that just adds time. And that's all we want together. But we all have to realize that we're not there yet. Everybody that we can reach needs to do everything they can. We need to do more. We need to raise more. We need to learn more. We need to fix this. We need to cure this. Tomorrow's another day to fight, another day for the foundation to really grow and do the thing that every parent, every friend, every grandparent wants. We just want to find the cure.
I think we talk a lot in the CF community about beating the odds or overcoming obstacles. And when you think about beating the odds for the average person, you kind of think about being the best. And when you look at someone with cystic fibrosis, beating the odds is simply just to live. For me, beating the odds is seeing my little sister Caroline get married. It's seeing my best friends Emma and Anna have kids someday. It's me getting married. It's seeing my dad and my mom retire. It's all those things that the average 26-year-old wakes up and doesn't even think they won't have. And for me, it's everything I wake up fighting for. I think when you have cystic fibrosis, people often tell you that you're brave or that you're strong or you're a fighter. What I really am is a daughter, a friend, a sister, a laugher. And, you know, in order to be all those things, I have to fight for it. And if that constitutes me as a fighter along the way, that's fine, but it's certainly not what I wake up to be to people. Like I said before, there's just never gonna be a day when my day starts out bad and I'm not gonna chase the good one.